Welcome to the Jobs and Work podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Kendra Jason. I'm a sociologist and workplace equity consultant, and I will bring guests onto the show who reflect the diversity of the American workforce. On this podcast, I challenge you to think about work. Why? Because in America, we spend more time at our jobs than anywhere else. But how often do we really talk about work? And I mean all types of work: women's work, essential work, retirement, being your own boss, how to handle your boss, and so much more. Please subscribe and share the Jobs and Work with Work for Change podcast. You can learn more about my consultancy that supports this podcast at work4changellc.com. Hello, and welcome to episode 37 of the Jobs and Work with Work for Change podcast. Today, I have with me special guest and business owner, Dr. James Alberty. Welcome to the podcast, James.
Thank you. Nice to be here. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So I'm going to read James's bio really quickly so we can understand who he is, but he has a fascinating story, and I'm just ready to get into it. So Dr. James Alberty was born in Augusta, Georgia, attended A.R. Johnson Health Science and Engineering High School. Shout out to class of 97. After graduation, he enrolled at Fort Valley State University, earning his Bachelor of Science degree in biology. He was also initiated into Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. He just celebrated 21 years. Congratulations, James.
Thank you.
After graduating from Fort Valley State, he moved on to Life University in Marietta, Georgia, where he earned his Doctor of Chiropractic with numerous special certifications. Then he successfully embarked upon his professional career as the owner and clinical director of Gifted Hands Chiropractic and Wellness Center in Atlanta, Georgia. Then he was presented with a great opportunity and he relocated to Cleveland, Ohio, where he worked in a multidisciplinary facility specializing in orthopedics and sports medicine. And then he later joined Cleveland Chiropractic Hospital medical staff as a chiropractic physician. So he's certified by the National Board of Chiropractic, the State Board of Chiropractic for the states of Ohio and Georgia. And he is an Ohio certified BWC provider and has extensive experience in the treatment of work-related sports and personal injuries. So not only does he do all of these things, but he's also a professor at the University of Phoenix. He's the co-owner of the Link Spine and Sports Rehabilitation. He also just opened his own Alberty Chiropractic, which we'll talk about more. And in his spare time, I don't know where that happens, he's a health, sports, and exercise enthusiast, avid traveler, and mentor to young children in the community. So that's a lot, James. That's a lot. So I will have to tell everyone. So I've known James a long time. James and I went to high school together, graduated again in the class of 97. And we were just talking. We've only seen each other, I think, one time since graduation, probably about maybe 5 years or so after graduation. So I keep up with James. He knows this. I keep up with James on all his social media handles, which are right below. Please check those out. Check out what's going on with James. But again, I know I tell a lot of guests this, but when I started this podcast a year ago, James was on my initial list for bringing people in and telling this story because I'm just so fascinated with what he does in his life. I love his videos on social media. And so I just want to get into conversation. And so your bio really intrigued me, James, when I knew what was going on in Atlanta, and then you say you were presented with this opportunity to move to Cleveland. All right. So tell us about that. What made you take that leap?
The opportunity in Cleveland, it was a little bit different. It was a lot of chiropractors, they kind of follow, well, at least at the time now, it's kind of changed a little bit now, but at the time, it was more of a narrow path as far as what they do. As far as just somewhat strict chiropractic in a sense. Mm-hmm. But we know so much more, and we're taught so much more, and we have so much more at our disposal. And so I was, offered an opportunity where I would actually be able to use and incorporate all those skills that I've learned. Right. I would be able to work with a much broader range of patience. And I just felt like overall it'll make me a much better chiropractor.
Right.
Um, it was the first practice I had in Atlanta. It was, a lot of wellness care, which is amazing. I love that.
Mm-hmm.
Some personal injury, things of that nature. But for here, it was like you had wellness, you had sports injuries, you had the working. I seen things that I only thought I only read about in the books. I only taught in class, and I thought that I would, and most chiropractors have never seen, coming to the
Oh, I
office.
understand. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So, and I just always wanted to just not be better, just work towards being the best. So I was like, I go there. I thought of it like college. I'll go up there, do 3 years, and come right back.
Right.
So that's kind of how I looked at it. Like I went to school in Fort Valley, small. I love the school, small college
Right.
town. Not a lot to do in the city, in the town, but
Right.
we made the best of it. I had a ball. So let's be a
Right.
brief. So that's kind of how I looked at it.
Yeah, because I'm thinking about with, the typical imagery we have of a chiropractor, you have a person who's just in the office. It seems kind of simple. You see, patients every day, probably a lot of, like you say, car accidents and, just work injuries and things of that nature. But you had an opportunity to go to a dynamic workplace, right? A dynamic and deal with a range of chiropractic needs, which you really didn't have that opportunity, at least where you were in Atlanta, sounds like.
Right. No, I didn't.
So did it pay off for you? Was it worth the leap?
I'll say yes. I learned a lot.
Yeah.
The initial place, it was, like I said, I learned a lot. It was great. In a short amount of time.
Right.
It wasn't. It turned out not to be the best. I mean, because we're being very transparent on this podcast.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it just turned out not to be the best fit overall.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Patients were amazing, but it just wasn't the best fit. I still wasn't able to, although I had all those things at my disposal, I still wasn't able to practice as freely as I would like to practice.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I still felt, although I could do this and had these types of patients, I still felt restricted in a sense.
Right.
And that's just never how I wanted to practice.
So did that lead you to co-owning the Link where you are now, or is there something that happened in between?
Actually, so following that, I ended up, the head of the, chiropractic and rehab department at the Lutheran Hospital at Cleveland Clinic.
Mm-hmm.
Reached out to me and we met, and he offered me a job, and I took the job at Cleveland Clinic. It was like a kind of a subdivision at Allied Health and Chiropractic, which was it was an amazing opportunity. First of all, the Cleveland Clinic is it's ranked like number 3 hospital in the world.
Okay.
It's the 3rd ranked hospital in the world. It's like number 1 as far as like heart is concerned.
Mm-hmm.
Just an amazing opportunity. And as you probably see, there's not a lot of chiropractors in hospitals.
Right.
Chiropractor inside of a hospital is not really a thing.
Right.
So I was just like, oh, this is different. This is amazing. So I'm going to take this opportunity, and it was a great fit. I loved it. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
I loved, the ownership of it. I loved. It was a lot. I mean, it wasn't perfect, but it was so many things I loved about it.
Right.
And I ended up staying there for quite a few years, maybe like 3-4 years, maybe.
Right.
So I thought I'd do 1 or 2 and still head on back to Atlanta. In my head,
you keep going. You keep thinking you're gonna go back to Atlanta.
In my head, I'm back to Georgia. You know what I'm saying? My family down there. Everything I know down there. I still had a house down there.
Yeah.
In my head, I'm headed back to Georgia.
Yeah.
So, but it didn't quite work out. It didn't quite work out that way.
Yeah.
So other plans were so.
All right. So how long have you been with the Link, and how did that get started?
So the Link is actually funny. The Link will be celebrating our 7th anniversary April 1st.
Congratulations.
So, right around the corner. We've been open, these doors been open for 7 years. So me and another guy, his name is Dr. Artur Wright.
Mm-hmm.
We've been friends since chiropractic school.
Right.
And at the time, he had worked in Cleveland for a little bit, and at the time he was working in Manhattan. And we both had very similar thoughts as far as like how we wanted to practice, things we wanted to do. And so we were just kind of, as we was talking, we were like, what, let's just stop talking about it. Let's just do it.
Yeah.
I think we
Yeah.
both, have a few dollars saved,
Right.
so,
Yeah.
so we can let's just open up and just see what happens.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. We opened up we did a lot of the elbow work ourselves, putting this place
Hmm.
together. We were pretty much the contractors, you know.
Right.
We took our old recording studio, about 10,000 square feet, and
Yeah.
turned it into a full multidisciplinary clinic.
Right.
So
Yeah, I love it. I see, like I said, I follow James, especially on Instagram. He shows a lot of really, really cool videos on Instagram from the link. One of my favorite ones, of course, is like the Y strap videos. I don't know.
yeah.
It just if you don't know what that is, go to James's page and look up the way. And I love how you put the microphones on people so you can hear all the cracking and everything of that nature. It's just so entertaining. Now, again, James and I are medical people. We went to health science and engineering high school. We're nerds in that sense. But I really love how you were clever enough to kind of tune into that. And then I don't know if you knew that people would appeal to, those elements of chiropractic in a way, because I don't think, this better than I do, but I know a few people who go to the chiropractor, but I don't know like a lot of people who go to the chiropractor. So I think like my perception is that for a lot of people, the chiropractic practice is like a black box. They kind of know what it is, but they don't really engage in it. And some people are reluctant to engage in chiropractic services. And so let me just ask you directly, like from your experience, what are some of the main like misconceptions that people have about chiropractic and, and then what do you do to ensure people, to kind of get over that hump and get the services and the care that they need?
I'll say this first. When I came out of school, especially more so when I was in school, you have a lot of people who will say, "Oh, chiropractors are quacks."
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and this is it's just funny because, and then you ask them why, and all you get is my uncle said so. You know
Right,
what I'm
it's something
saying?
they heard. That's what I was.
And so there's never any, when you ask them, it's just, that's what I heard. It's just what I
Right,
heard. And there's never really anything substantial behind it,
right,
which is fine.
right,
It's because I know what it does. I know the philosophies behind it. I
right,
know, the results that I get.
right.
And but it is kind of a black box. And one thing I've noticed about chiropractic in general is that people think, oh, you just go for back pain, you just go for neck pain.
Uh-huh. Mm-hmm.
Very, very simple, very, just, kind of what did they say? A one pony show.
Mm-hmm.
Did
Mm-hmm.
I say that right?
Well, I think it's a
one trick pony.
I'm not sure. I know the expression.
I'm totally butchering this. However, I'm totally butchering. But no, they only feel like, we can only do a couple of things, and what we do is very simple, which is far from the case. It's a variety of things that fall up under the chiropractic umbrella that we do.
Right.
And I will say is and I'm just, for lack of better terms, one of the dopest things I think I've done, especially in the Cleveland community, is that I've introduced chiropractic to a lot of people that look like me, to a lot of people who would have never gone to chiropractic before.
Right.
I'm not gonna say, oh, I made it cool, but
oh, you played a role.
But I made it cool. You know what I'm saying? It's in a sense, it's but a lot of people who, like I said, young people.
Yeah.
And the thing is, and not just that,
yeah,
it's causing them to actually, take their health serious.
Right.
At a younger age, as
right.
as opposed to waiting till you get older. And it's like, my back is killing me, or this, I'm having these migraines, or I can't do this, or I can't play with my kids, and so it's making, I'm able. So right now, I mean, for me to do that, and most people that sit across my desk I'm the first chiropractor they've ever seen,
Right.
you know?
Mm-hmm.
And for a lot of them, I'm the first Black doctor they've ever seen, period.
Mm-hmm.
Out of any kind of doctor.
Right.
So, which is also dope,
Yeah.
you know? So I'm able to, you know, I've been able to, like I say, introduce that to a lot of people who otherwise, if it wasn't for me, would have never even been hip to it, you
Mm-hmm.
know? And if they was, it's not a lot of representation like me, you
Right.
know, that they would have been able to go to, you know,
Right.
in order to, and not only that, and I never want people to, and I always say this, and I say this to my patients: don't come. Look, if you come to me because I'm Black, wonderful,
Right.
but don't stay with me. Don't stay a patient of mine because I'm Black. Stay. I
Right.
want you to stay a patient of mine because I'm actually great at what I do.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And you're actually seeing results from, you know, from the
Yeah.
service that I provide.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if you don't feel like I do, please, you know what I'm saying, let me refer you to somebody else. I'm open book, you know.
Yeah. You very much so are, because we were just talking before the recording here. So James is basically getting a lot of media attention right now. I saw a local news story on James probably about a month ago or so, and basically the short of it is that when James was 11 years old, he was diagnosed with a soft tissue cancer in his hands. And he was advised by doctors to have his hands amputated, or one of the outcomes could be he only had 6 months to live at 11 years old. Now, I can't even imagine the weight of that situation and the prayers and things that your family went through at the time. But, what James said, at least in the story, was that, don't amputate my hands, right? If I only have, let me live a few good months of really good life rather than not having my hands. And so something told you early on that your hands were going to be key in your life. And so, tell us a little bit about that, wherever you want to pick up, in that story. I did notice that the name of one of your businesses was Gifted Hands Chiropractic. And I was wondering, if that was inspired by your story of your hands.
It was actually.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Initially, when I opened up that first practice, that story was inspired, you know, by what happened with my hands.
Right.
I just felt like it was a gift to even have them at this point.
Yeah.
You know, I wasn't thinking about it from the aspect of, I'm providing, I'm helping people the way I'm helping people out with them.
Right.
It was just more, hey, I'm just blessed to have these. You know what I'm saying? This is a gift from God to me. You know what I'm saying? To let me have these, and not only that, just still be here.
Yeah.
That's a huge gist of the story. It's funny because when I was in high school and I met you, I was still dealing with this.
And I had no idea. You had no idea.
Yeah, no. That's why I was such a slim kid.
You were. He was a slim kid.
I was a big kid up until I got sick, and then in high school, I wasn't putting on weight.
Right.
I was not putting on weight. I was, as hard as I tried, I ate everything I could. I ate as much food as I could, but
yeah.
That's why I used to bring lunch to school instead of eating cafeteria food. And
yeah, I remember that part of your story. I remember that. So of course, James in high school was always super slim, like super slim. Always wore these big old baggy clothes, right? But I remember you telling us that when you were a kid, you were like overweight as a kid, right? And then you were always slim, and that's always what we knew you. And I saw in your story, you had things going on, at 16 years old and in high school. And it just reminded me of that, saying like, you never know what people are going through, because you were definitely not the class clown. I wouldn't put you that far, but you were definitely like the jokester, always smiling, always having fun. I mean, you were like the fun dude, right? Fun, cool, had a little swag with your baggy clothes and all that kind of stuff, but never would have known that you were dealing with a life-threatening, situation, that you were having surgeries and things of that nature. So what was it that enabled you to, be that James, if you will, that I knew in high school, who was like this jovial, seemingly lighthearted dude, but behind closed doors, you were dealing with something really, really heavy.
Yeah, it was just kind of one of those things where, you know, after I think I made it a couple years and I started, because at one point, like y'all don't know, I could barely, it was certain times I couldn't even walk. Like I was,
Mm-hmm.
and in school, I'll be in there, me and Reggie hooping and,
Yeah.
everything all
Yeah.
the time. I was
Yeah.
trying to play every sport that, I could.
Yeah.
And, but at one point, it was to the point I could barely even walk at times.
Mm-hmm.
And, after a couple of years, it was to the point where I was just like, look, if I'm not going to make it, I'm about to live every day like it's my last, you
Right.
know?
Right.
And that's one of the things I started to do, like
Right.
I said, at night, it was a little, after it was all said and done for the day and I was, by myself or whatever, it was like,
Yeah.
that's when like the nervousness kicked in of like, is this my last day? Am I
Yeah.
gonna wake up tomorrow?
Right.
But every day I woke up, it was like, it's a blessing to be here. Let's go.
I
And that's kind of
know.
the attitude I took.
Yeah, that gave me chills. So it's crazy. It's crazy because I saw you every day. I saw you
Right.
every day in high school. I saw you every day hooping and dancing and joking, and I saw every day. And we never knew that was your own story, right? And so now you're sharing it with the world, and I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people will appreciate that's your story and grow from it. Let me ask you this before we wrap up. So Alberty Chiropractic is a new venture for you. So how is it different from the Link, and what made you start this new venture?
The new venture is Alberty Chiropractic is started because I started having a lot of patients that fly from out of town that
Yeah.
drive to come see me. Yeah, so it's and like even though I'm based in Cleveland,
Right.
and which I one more thing I want to touch on too is this other clinic that we're working on. But
Mhm.
even though I'm based in Cleveland, I have patients that come from Dallas, LA, Atlanta, Pittsburgh, Toledo,
Yeah.
Columbus, Cincinnati, and they come from DC, New York, Philly, and I'm just like, y'all coming to see me? You
Yeah.
know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Y'all coming to see me?
Yeah.
So it was kind of like just overall wow moment in a sense.
Right.
And so then I started getting people, asking me, hey, are you ever in Atlanta? Because they see me, I'm home. You know what I'm saying? I visit
Mm-hmm.
home. So Georgia, so most of my family's between Atlanta
Yeah.
and Augusta. And
Right.
so I see you in Atlanta. Are you ever bring your table down here? Or,
Yeah.
hey, I see you in Columbus. You know what I'm saying? You ever thought about? So I just thought, what, maybe, although it's cool that people come to me, maybe I can go and set up shop, you know what I'm
Yeah.
saying, and go to them as well too. But not
Right.
necessarily on a one-on-one basis, but
Yeah.
just provide care to a group of people in these different cities. And so that's kind of what birthed Alberty Chiropractic in a sense. And so I started basically doing these pop-up clinics
Mm-hmm.
and rent out different clinics or spas and places like that. And I did my first one. I did my first one in Toledo, Ohio. It was absolutely amazing. The energy was
Yeah.
great. It was people don't, it was fun.
Yeah.
The energy from the patients was amazing. It's already booking back up,
Yep.
for the second go round. And then now I have coming up Atlanta, Columbus, Toledo again, Cincinnati, LA,
So you'll need to add Charlotte to your list.
Charlotte.
So
I love Charlotte.
let me tell you why this story makes so much sense to me. So again, watching you on social media, watching you for at least a couple years now, I find myself saying like, man, I want to go to a chiropractor, and I know I can go to one that's like down the street, but I was like, I want to go to James. I'm not lying. It's like a comfort that I have, but this is the power of social media, right? You're feeling like you right. So like, I was like, I feel like, I'm comfortable with James, not just because of, our previous going to school together, but I see you in action. I see you in work. I see your clients, your patients having fun, laughing with you while you're, providing the service. And it just seems fascinating. I was just like, I feel like I'm already at a comfort level with him from afar. So it will only make sense, versus like, I'm sure we have some excellent chiropractors in Charlotte that I definitely need to take advantage of. Yeah. And so, but it's that's the power of social media, right? And so, again, James and I were talking a few minutes before, when it comes to content creation for you small business owners out there, everybody hates it. No one likes being in front of the camera. No one likes having to be creative and do things on time and continuously produce that material. And James, who does it really, really well and has a really nice following, just doing the work that he does, has the same experience. He's like content creation, everybody, no one really enjoys this. A few people who enjoy it, but it's also something that is a powerful tool to connect with potential clients and customers, to give them that insight, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It could just be like James, it could just be doing what you do and then having it set up so it's recorded so people have that insight. So I just wanted to throw that little dime in there.
That's very true.
Yeah. And so I told James I wouldn't take up too much of his time. I'm already over time. I kind of figured that would happen, but I am going to encourage you to see if you can set up something in Charlotte. I'm also going to ask you for some recommendations. That's another thing that people can do. If it's a provider that you want to work with and they are long distance or not available, ask them for recommendations and they'll give you someone that they can trust in the area. And that could be another starting point, because what you don't want to do is you don't want to just put off your care because you're waiting on something else, right? And so remove those barriers so that you can get the care you need. James, thank you very much. So I would, let me just ask you one quick thing. Where is the mentoring? Where does that come in for you? And how does that fit into your overall service?
First is just, I'll say this. Luckily, I had, my dad being in my life the way he was, was amazing. And my older brother as well too.
Right.
But, a lot of people don't have that. You know what I'm saying? Right. A lot of people that I run into and sit across from me don't have that as well.
Right.
And so it started off really when I started really mentoring heavy and with Kappa League when I was like undergrad.
Right.
And then after that, I just never stopped it. So, I still do mentoring with that. But I do it as well as other have kids come to shadow me.
Yeah.
I take someone under my wing, almost like a big brother program,
right?
As well too. I help them get ready for like interviews and stuff,
right.
Like job placement. They don't have clothes,
right?
Let's go get you some for the interview. Let's go get you some clothes. Let's go get you a tie. It's on me. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Just so the little that I can do. You know what I'm saying? Whether there's one or several.
Yeah.
It goes. Yeah.
It goes a long way.
It does. I used to do it a lot more, and I still do it on a regular basis, you know what I'm saying? I just wish I had even more time for it, but
right.
I try to still do what I can as much as I can.
Well, thank you. I did want to just slide that last point in there because I think I want to give our viewers a more holistic view of you, that you, not only are you a community person, not only are you a chiropractor, but you also, you have this passion for children and investing in the life outcomes of children. And I think that's really important. So I'm going to wrap up here. You can follow James Alberty again on the links below. You can also follow Work for Change. We have a Linktree profile that you can see below. It has all of our social media handles. Thank you again, James. I know you have a busy morning. And thank you for listening as we work to make the world of work better. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you, James.
Thank you so much. Take care.